Hey guys, and I'm just coming into group. I wanted to pop in and just do a little bit around reactivity when you live in a really busy area, because I know this is an issue for very many of you, and I wanted to give you a few hints and tips around what you can do to help you and your dog really still succeed, because you can, with regard to reactivity. So if you live in a really busy place with lots of neighbours and other dogs all around you, you're most likely not going to be able to completely control your dog's exposure to triggers. Even the best management can't prevent your dog from running into neighbours and their dogs regularly. For example, if you have to leave your dog and take him outside to the toilet, either out the front of your house or even in your back garden, even if you have him on the lead in your back garden, if you've got neighbours with dogs who are barking and reacting all of the time, then it's obviously very difficult for you, and you can't control that situation. So obviously these factors are going to make management much more difficult. But that doesn't mean, guys, that you can't effectively still work on your dog's reactivity. Suburban dogs can and will progress well, even if they are over threshold by circumstances outside of your control now and then. So for you as your dog's guardian, it's important that you find a balance between avoiding the triggers as much as possible for your dog, as much as you can, but also at the same time, don't stress, guys, about the ones that you simply cannot prevent, because there's always going to be something that will pop up, and that's out of your control. So don't stress about that. Dog owners who live in very busy neighbourhoods, I find, are often already well aware of the importance of management and its role in keeping your dog quiet, because obviously nobody wants to be reported to the dog warden. However, in a busy neighbourhood, you might only be able to avoid 80% of your triggers in your dog's life, and certainly not all of them. And I know, for example, if somebody lives in and many of you will, somebody lives in a house in a busy street with lots of stuff going on outside, and maybe for some reason you don't have a back garden and you have to go out across the street to verge or something, or a green for your dog to toilet. I know that you're not going to be able to avoid all of these triggers. So I'm hoping that what I'm talking into here today is going to give you a little bit of help with around that. So if you are in a really busy area and what I've spoken into so far is an issue for you, try not to worry, as I say, too much about the triggers that you can't manage, because it's out of your control, as I've said. So concentrate instead on putting time and effort into positive connection with yourself type of training. All right. Work towards the counter conditioning training that we're going to be covering in group to help change the way your dog feels around triggers in the future anyway. And we're obviously going to be doing quite a lot of work around that. But in the meantime, don't worry about what you can't change. Keep in mind, it's important to keep in mind that dogs can, like us, they can cope with a certain amount of stress. And if you actually just watch the trigger stacking, which you've learned a little bit about already, watch the trigger stacking closely where you can, and obviously reduce it where you can. As long as you're careful to prevent the preventable stress building up, and we work on what we should be training each week, you're still going to make progress. So I want to reassure you of that. All right. If you cannot avoid triggers when you take your dog out of your house to toilet, for example, then I'm just going to give you a few little hints and tips here as to what you can do to perhaps help you with management. All right. So think about your dog licking. We've discussed how this is calming, and we can absolutely use licking to help us. And we can use licking to help us to escort our dog in and out of the house, either out of the front or out of the back to toilet. So what I suggest, guys, is that you find out what your dog absolutely loves to lick. All right, that could be peanut butter, liver pate, Primula cheese, so on and so forth. Find out what your dog absolutely can't resist. Okay, and then what you can do is spread this onto, say, for example, a pimple-backed rubber glove that you can wear, or a spatula or wooden spoon, spread it generously and thickly. Or you can even, if it's Primula cheese, for example, you can even use it straight from the squeezy bottle it comes in, or the squeezy tube it comes in. Or you can use a empty tomato ketchup bottle, for example, to deliver peanut butter or something like that. Okay. And then what you can do is you can use this licky device or tube to escort your dog and lure him to wherever it is you're going to toilet him. And I suggest you make this the same place every single day so that we're training it as a new behaviour, a habit. Okay, so you can literally hold the tube or the spatula by your side where your dog is and let him lick it continuously as you walk to where you want him to go to the toilet. All right, and thus you can keep him by your side and hopefully under threshold as he's licking something so amazing, and he's not going to notice too much about what's coming up. So we get to the next important bit. He's going to really enjoy this treat, and the reason why I'm talking about giving him something lovely like that is because obviously if you're feeding treats one by one, in between the treats he's got the chance to sort of look up or look around. If he's licking continuously, not only is it hopefully calming, but it's also continuous, so he's concentrating on his licking rather than looking for anything else. All right, next thing we need to be, of course, is hazard aware, and we're going to be covering hazard awareness a lot more on the reactivity course again, but hazard awareness is basically being aware of avoiding as many triggers as possible. So choose the time of day when you're going to take your dog out of the front or out of the back. You may know that your neighbours go out at a certain time with their dogs or whatever out of the front. So choose a time when they're not around, obviously. And then the other thing I always do is make sure I've scanned the area before I leave the house so that I know if it's clear or not. Okay, so what we're doing that for obviously is because if you get out of the house, we're continually scanning the area, and if you see anything coming towards you, what we're trying to do is see it before our dog does. And if you see anything coming towards you, you can then do an emergency about turn, which we're also going to learn, but in the meantime you can lure your dog around using the licky spoon or whatever it is you're using, and then this gives you the chance to get out of the way. So zip up a driveway, zip behind a parked car, do an about turn, face the opposite direction, and then hopefully the hazard can either pass by whilst your dog doesn't see it, and you keep him under threshold. So that's how you would use that. You can also use this method as well, the squeezy Primula cheese tube I love. Say, for example, if you have the problem of your neighbour's dogs barking outside or dogs barking generally in a really busy suburban area, what you can do is whip your little Primula cheese thing out. So you have it handy somewhere, whichever room you're in. And if you hear dogs barking and your dog does react to the sound of dogs barking, then as soon as you hear that dog barking outside and you know your dog's going to react, whip your little licky Primula cheese thing out and just pop it on your dog's nose, get him away, distract him away. What you want to do is make sure you get in there straight away, because once he started barking, his arousal levels will go up, and obviously if he's in full-blown bark mode, it may not be quite so easy to distract him. So you can get this tube on his nose, make a lovely little what's this kind of noise, and just gently draw him away from the window or wherever he's reacting, and let him lick for a little while until he calms down or the dog stops barking. All right, over time, if you practice this consistently and daily, what will start to happen is he'll stop reacting to the dog barking and he'll be looking for his licky treat. So there's quite a lot of hints and tips in there for you. The video's gone on a little bit, but I hope you all learn a little bit from this. And as always, happy training, and do remember to post your results in the group. Thank you for listening and watching, guys, as always. Bye.